Um, David, why don't you read what you've brought to us today, and
Okay.
we'll wait for other people to catch up with us, and we'll go from
Every
there.
now and then, thank you, Marty. Every now and then, I like to go to Wendy's favorite poem, which was Ralph Hudson's I Stood and Stared. And it goes like this. Up through the chapel of my soul, and at the altar die, and in the awful quiet then, myself I heard, Amen, 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 I heard me cry. I heard it all, and then although I caught my flying sense out, a dizzy man was I. I stood and stared. The sky was lit. The sky was stars all over it. I stood. I knew not why. Without a wish, without a will, I stood upon that silent hill and stared into the sky until my eyes were blind with stars, and still I stared into the sky. That was written in 1917, and I like to read it every now and then. Thank you.
You're welcome, David, and thank you very much for reading that. Uh, it always brings back previous experiences when I first saw the sky at night in a dark sky area. It was amazing, and the other was my first view through a telescope.
Yeah,
It changes everything. Your
yeah,
perspective. Very, very, very good. Thank you for reading that.
thanks.
Well, I'll read our opening uh, prayer, and then we will get started, I guess. Uh, uh, I'll read it in English this time. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. You have sanctified us through your commandments and commanded us to busy ourselves in things of Torah. Amen.
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 Well, the we are currently, I believe I have the right location. We are on Deuteronomy 10, verse 20.
Yeah.
Could you please give us the page, Marty?
In your book, it is page 1405.
Wow. Thank you.
I just wanted to be
My,
very
I haven't
fancy.
been here in a while, have I?
Well, I can. Uh, um, oh, did I do the first reading?
Sure, sure.
Oh, no, I want to ask David if it's okay.
What? It's okay.
Okay.
Hello,
While
Donna.
I, while I can still do this right now.
And hello,
Uh,
Okay, hi,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Morning, Shabbos.
Good morning.
so
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
start. I'll start at 20. You must revere the Lord your God. Only Him shall you worship. To Him shall you hold fast, and by His name shall you swear. He is your glory, and He is your God, who brought for you those marvelous, awesome deeds that you saw with your own eyes. Your ancestors went down to Egypt, 70 persons in all, and now the Lord your God has made you as numerous as the stars of the heaven. Get the stage, hopefully they kind of stick together. Get the other
Okay.
side going. Oh, okay. Now we're on 11. Love
Yes,
therefore,
this is chapter 11. Yes.
chapter 11. Yeah, thank you, Marty, very much. Love therefore the Lord your God and always keep his charge, his laws, his rules, and his commandments. How far do I go, Marty?
Why don't you go through the end of verse 7?
Okay. Take thought this day that it was not your children who neither experienced nor witnessed the lesson of the Lord your God. His majesty hand, his outstretched arm, the signs and the deeds that he performed in Egypt against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all his land. What he did to Egypt's army, its horses and chariots, how the Lord rolled back upon them the waters of the sea of reeds when they were pursuing you, thus destroying them once and for all. What he did for you in the wilderness before you arrived in this place, and what he did to Darhan and Abram, sons of Elad, son of Reuben, when the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them, along with their households, their tents, and every living thing in their train, from amidst all Israel. But that it was you who saw him, your own eyes, all the marvelous deeds that the Lord performed.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.
So there was a lot here, and now we want to go back to verse 20.
20.
We'll go back to verse 20 in chapter 10. And we will start there if anyone has anything to say about that.
Did you say a chapter 10?
Yes, just turning back one page.
Right.
And you want to go back to verse 20 of chapter 10.
10. Okay.
And any comments about what Michael read?
I have a question. Good morning,
Okay,
everybody.
Donna.
Shabbat shalom. Yeah, I have a question. 22, the ancestors that went down to Egypt, 70 persons in all. I don't know who that includes.
Okay.
Or that number.
Now you
I'm
have to
finding
go back
numbers
to
are
the book of
important.
Genesis.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So who went down to Egypt? 70 in all.
70.
That was Jacob.
Those are the
Jacob. That is
immediate
correct,
members
David.
of
Thank you.
Jacob's clan.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
You know,
Okay.
especially those that had names.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the reference there.
Okay.
Now, when you start talking about this, and you're going to see this come up again and again, this in various ways about various ways of praising God. Okay. So, do you have any comments about it? There was something that came up uh, that I think is worthwhile to discuss because we're told not to swear in God's name.
Well, that kind of brings it something that I wanted to say. Is that are many, almost an infinite number of ways.
Excuse me, David, could you get closer to your microphone?
I'm sorry, is this better?
Oh, much better.
Oh, sorry about that. But what I wanted to say is that there seem to be an infinite number of ways in order to praise God. And if you study Moses' relationship with God, one of these ways is to argue with God and even to stand up and stomp your foot occasionally. And it seems to me that God did not object to that. It's not just to, I think God's a lot more complicated than just wanting you to bow down and sing his praises. And I think that's what, I think that might be what you're getting at, Marty, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm just expressing my own feelings about that because
Okay.
I do have a temper, as almost everybody does, and I do break the third commandment from time to time. But
Well,
I have things that I say when I do that, and uh, so far I'm still living, and the lightning and thunder hasn't hit me yet, but I just wanted to say that there are these many ways. And
well,
one of them is that. Another one is humor, and just discussions is a third way. And then there's, of course, is the more traditional ways.
well, um, David, in reference to when you say arguing with God, I think God accepts that as a way of learning. The uh, uh, I think one can make a case that it would be the one who would be arguing might be confused about by something, and it needs more explanation to come to a resolution. And I see that as a way of learning, being taught, depending on what the situation would be. That would be my interpretation of that.
All right. Marianne, welcome back. And then I'll go to the rabbi because we've gotten off on a different track here. Yes, Marianne.
Yeah, I think part of that, I one time had a very serious argument with God. I screamed, I yelled, I threw rocks, I kicked dirt, I cursed him out, that it was a leveling of my pride and ego. I wanted what I wanted, and I didn't much care what God wanted at that point. So I found that to be very much of an ego leveling experience in retrospect. God is never wrong. Generally, I am, but I am. I think it brought me, one of my friends said to me, well, you finally believe in God, and he knows what's in your head and in your heart anyway, so you may as well have told him. I thought, yeah, well, I said, I'm going to go to hell when I die for saying stuff like that. They said to me, if there's hell, you're going anyway, so don't worry about what you said. That for me, in my experience, leveled my pride, leveled my ego, had to finally come to the realization that God's plan for me is much better than what my plan for me is. So I think that arguing with God sometimes has a very good purpose in it. If you're willing to listen, once you stop screaming and yelling and carrying on to what he has to say or the direction that he leads. So that's been my experience with arguing with God.
Okay. But it's not really arguing.
I
I'll
was more
give
like
you a
telling him
clue with
off.
that.
I have a
It's
question.
not, and it's not talking with God.
No, I was just telling him off.
Okay. Yes, Donna.
I just have a question for Rabbi and whomever. What is the Hebrew word? What is the definition of swearing? in Hebrew, because my modern day brain is cuss words, this and that. I go there, swearing at God, but what is the Hebrew on that?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
Marty, you
going
want me
to
to jump
ask the
in?
rabbi to take the floor now and
Okay.
to say, because I think we may be on the wrong tack here.
Huh?
Well, I'll try to
Please,
segue
Rabbi.
back. Try to segue back to your initial question.
Okay.
I have three. I actually had to make some notes to make sure that I remembered them.
Sure.
Oh,
So beginning with Donna's thing, it is explicitly clear in the Torah that that do not swear by God's name is not that's not referring to vulgarity or cuss words. It's do not take an oath. Okay, do not make a promise of any sort by saying I swear by God, or the way they do it in the court. Do you swear to tell them, so help you God, kind of thing. That that would be breaking the commandment. That if you had made an oath using God's name, you have intentionally then brought God into your, whether it's intentional or whether it's unintentional, into your sin or into your mistake. So don't bring God into those kind of civil disagreements or whatever it is. It wasn't referring to the way we say today, don't swear.
right.
Okay, that's in
Right.
the biblical. Okay, all right. Um, Second, there's absolutely no question. I mean, Michael is right. David is right. There's no question that in whatever verb you want to use, arguing, wrestling, debating with, struggling with God, which is the truly
Mm-hmm.
the translation of Israel. Okay, to
Mm-hmm.
struggle
Just
to
struggle.
struggle with God. So it's not only that that's permissible. The midrash, the commentaries go even further. That's what God wants. Okay, and the pardon me, I have no voice. And the lore that LORE that develops around it is parallel to teacher and student. Okay, so that a good teacher will say, "I learn the most from my own students rather than from
Hmm.
my teachers." Okay, so there's a very famous midrash of the God says one thing, the angels say something else, and the rabbis who are debating in a discussion come up with a third interpretation, and the midrash then has God smiling, laughing, and saying, "Aha, my children have outwitted me." Okay, so God is very pleased when we argue, wrestle, debate, and not always agree with what God is saying. So that's number two. Number three, back to Marty's thing, is to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't say anywhere in this part of the Torah, it doesn't say that God commands us to praise God. Okay. And Marty, your question was about praise. So it talks about blessing, talks about loving, talks about fearing or revering, but it doesn't use the word praise. So the question for discussion perhaps is, does God need or want our praise? The
Huh.
traditional answer is no. We're the ones who benefit from praising God. That's why the Hebrew word to do that is in a reflexive form. Okay.
Ah,
All right. So
okay.
there you go. There's background. Take it where you will, doctor.
Okay. There's another possible interpretation. And in Torah, the word testimony, we have discussed that many, many, many times. And when you're using God's name in a testimony, for example, as the rabbi was talking, I'm taking a different approach. What the rabbi brought it up, for example, in a court, you don't want to bring in God on one side or the other to get involved in this civil issue. However, there are situations that where you're asked to swear upon the Bible and say, "So help me God." And God, when those terms were made, it was fairly. It was not as inclusive as other people would think. It was mainly Christian, and then Judeo-Christian, and now when we use the term God, it could be anyone's God. Okay. That's the common way of looking at things today. But back then, in history, it would mean God as was known to the Hebrews, not everyone else. And so when if you say, "I'm going to do this," and maybe if you say, "With God's help, I will be able to do it," it strengthens you, but it indirectly also strengthens God because he knows that you're doing it for someone else, on behalf of someone else. So maybe when you're giving testimony, you're not really giving it for yourself. You're giving it for the other person as you saw it, but on behalf of either the plaintiff or the defendant. Both sides will swear by God this is what their opinion was, how they saw it. So before we do all that, I understand that some people don't like to use the phrase, in modern days, but when it just means that the way you understood the situation, this is the way you are, and that's why you need at least three people to do the swearing with the testimony, at least three, so that whoever is to make a judgment on the case, they would take, well, who is more convincing, or were there more people who saw it one way as opposed to the other? So there is a way of in the use of the phrase, we have to recognize that there's much more to it. And I'm glad it's opened up, in my mind, a tremendous discussion, because I think there are many ways to interpret these few words. So yes, I think everybody was correct. That's why I was smiling. And Rabbi, I apologize for coming on from a slightly different standpoint with this, but it just struck me.
No need to apologize.
You shouldn't take God's name in vain, and all of this. But here, could it mean everything is in a positive direction, not a negative one?
Well, to bolster your interpretation, Marty, the Hebrew word, the biblical word, and even the modern word for offering testimony is aid, which is a witness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, testimony and witness. So you can't give testimony unless you're an eyewitness.
Right.
And Maimonides does a whole more than more than several chapters
Mm-hmm.
about the importance of being eyewitness in coming to know God. So yeah, your interpretation is just as valid.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And so anyway,
And I wanted to add, in
excuse
support of what the rabbi was saying, is that simply that if God did not want us to argue with him, he would not have given us the ability to use our own minds and to
good
make
way
our
of
own.
putting it, David.
Right.
Very good way of putting it. And so there's a whole slew of it. And so, well, I've said this before. Those of you who've seen my library, you will see books on both sides of issues. Okay? Because both sides are looking at the same issue from a different viewpoint. And hopefully I then come up with an idea of, how do I balance the differences and, is one citing statements that are true or not? And that's how my mind works. And it becomes more complicated as time goes on. Anyway, any other comments about the first few words and as the rabbi pointed out that phrase that the rabbi used that you saw with your own eyes is part of this sentence. Any and we answered your question, Donna.
Thank you.
So we did that. Any other comments now about what we've been reading as we go through this? Again, we come across it's very repetitive what happened in Egypt. The words of for the Seder are in here, and what and we've discussed why this is important to remind us of this aspect, and we're going to be seeing it come up again and again. Uh, who are Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, son of Reuben?
Where is that?
Who is this? This is verse 6.
I forget who played them in the movie. They were Edward G. Robinson's cohorts.
Yes.
Right.
Sons of Eli, son of Reuben.
They're in the band of Korach. They're
That's right.
like
That's
Korach's lieutenants.
right. So at this point, we hadn't, we alluded to certain things in stories. The Reubenite clan, the tribe of Reuben. What does Reuben do to Jacob? And that's why Reuben is denied on his deathbed. Jacob denies this. Denies Reuben of his inheritance. This goes back again to the book of Exodus.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Suzanne, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Reuben slept with well, not a wife, a concubine.
Yes, that's right. And it's very interesting as to how this is developed, and you hear a little bit more about it. There's a tremendous gap in that passage, and the and then when Jacob on his deathbed talks about why he's not giving Reuben his, normally Reuben would get everything, but he doesn't. It's everything is divided up, and even and for those who are interested, if you read the testimony by Jacob on his deathbed, what he says about all of the tribes, all of his children, and the tribes there from that receive their name for each one of his children, you, you would find that there were blessings and curses also. So I just want to say you may want to reread that on your own. So as far as this is concerned, they single out Dathan and Abiram with regard to the Korah experience as we read about it. The land opens up and swallows them all up. But in the earlier version that we read, what happened to Korah? We read earlier that he was swallowed up too. But here we're finding out that, well, it may not be exactly the case. And later on, that Korach's family, is it in Kings? I guess in Kings.
Well, there's a psalm there. I think there are 2 or 3 psalms that are attributed
And
to the
Psalms,
descendants
yes.
of Korach. Yeah.
And it there's a branch of the family that becomes very, very important in Jewish history. So therefore there had to be some survivors. But these particular ones, Dathan and Abiram, they are mentioned here more than anything else. And then there's Midrash as to why Korach is not mentioned. Because obviously some of it says in Marianne,
Yes, sir.
if you would turn to page 1406
Okay, I'm there.
at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and if you would read there are 2 little columns
Right.
with Dathan and Abiram in 2 paragraphs. If you could read the lower paragraph.
You mean number 6 or the paragraph following that?
It starts
Omission?
this omission.
This omission is explained by the sages in 2 ways. One, that Darmuth and Abiram was swallowed by the earth, but not Korah, or that Korah's sons were still alive. Moses did not wish to offend them by mentioning their father's sin.
Okay. So that's how so some people resolve this conflict, this way, and it stays in line with the teachings of Torah. Any other comments about the historical aspect of things? Yes, Donna.
What popped out for me, and because I am a woman, in case you want to to know. But was the part when it said when the earth opened her mouth? You know, that, because you don't see that, I just find that that's interesting to have the female as being the earth because, different cultures, Mother Earth, this, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was just a comment, no answer needed, but I noticed that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes, Rabbi.
the translators here, in not all versions, but here they've tried to be consistent with either the masculine or feminine of the noun that's
Right.
being referred to. And eretz in Hebrew, land or earth, is feminine. So now that may be the source of the Mother Earth kind of understanding,
Yeah.
but Earth, a city is feminine. Boats, like we know, even in our culture, boats are feminine.
Hmm.
Just it's the we don't necessarily have that in English, but the Hebrew and other Semitic languages and Romance languages do.
Is a house when you,
House is masculine.
is masculine?
Yeah.
Okay. How
Huh.
about home?
It's pretty much the same word in Hebrew.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
There's a different word for homeland, which
That
is
would be feminine.
which is feminine.
Right. Okay.
But home or house is the same as masculine.
Very good. Thank you, Donna, for bringing that up.
Marty,
Yes.
can I just go back to what Donna said for a second?
Sure.
I'm seeing the difference there as the role of women and the role of men. That women nurture, men protect.
Okay. That is in Torah. Yes. In those roles, I would agree.
So I'm wondering if as Donna is saying with the part about her mouth, that it is referring to something a female does, not just she opened her mouth. That it's showing you roles and responsibilities as well.
Okay. It's possible. Any other comments about verses all the way through 7? So we then have verse 8 and 9. Any comments about that? We've spoke about this many years ago. There's a phrase. The end of verse 9.
Yeah. Milk and honey.
Yeah, land flowing with milk and honey. Does that remind you of any song?
Any song? Yeah.
Well, that's the quote of the Hebrew song "Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash."
Yes.
That's an old Hebrew thing.
Do the words "this is the
Unless you're
land"?
talking about Molly Goldberg in a Broadway show, because there was
Yeah,
a Broadway show, Milk and Honey.
that's right.
Right.
So it's this phrase is something. I guess we have to be old enough to know about these things.
I guess.
Are you speaking for yourself or all of us?
I can,
It's those
all
that
I
get
can
the
do is speak for
references.
myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, uh, do you want, are there any other comments? If not, uh, David, would you care to read? I know we stopped it a little early, but well, David, would you read verses 10 and 11?
Certainly.
And
Oh, no, I mean, we start with 8 through the end of 11.
Okay. Therefore shall ye keep all the commandments which I command thee this day, that ye may be strong, and go in and possess the land, whether ye go over to possess it, with ye go over to possess it, and that ye may prolong your days upon the land, which the Lord swore unto your fathers, and gave unto them and to their seed, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land whither thou goest in to possess it is not the land of Egypt, not as the land of Egypt, from whence you came out, where thou didst sow thy seed, and didst water it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs. But the land whither ye go over to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinketh water as the rain of heaven cometh down. A land which the Lord thy God careth for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
some of you have a different interpretation, English interpretation. David's is Old English, and it's interesting. In my in my English translation, it says, "Keep therefore," on verse 8, "keep therefore all the instruction that I enjoin upon you today."
Yeah, I wonder. I have the same translation, and I wonder why the Hebrew is mitzvah, and so I don't know why they changed it this here from commandment to instruction, unless I mean that's the interpreter's commentary.
Yeah, I was right. So that because the words have different implications,
Well, it is
and
it is one of the 613 commandments to occupy the land,
mm-hmm,
to possess the land. So that part of the phrase can certainly be understood as a mitzvah, as a commandment,
right.
rather than a teaching. But maybe we're being a little too petty and picky.
I
well,
don't know.
to instruct and to command, uh, it's to instruct and to command. That's pretty. Um, I see it as pretty close, but the command would take precedence, I think, over instruct. Uh, but it's the way I see it, it's pretty close.
Well, Michael, I think that they're close, but command, at least the way that we understand it, has the divine that it comes from a
Right.
divine command, which would automatically, I would believe, make it more important,
Yeah,
more significant, more
yeah,
vital
yeah.
than than
I
instruction.
agree. Absolutely, I agree with
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
agree with that.
Okay.
Uh, and also okay, go ahead, Marianne.
No, finish up, man.
Oh, I can't. On my screen, I couldn't see your hand up. I'm sorry.
I see the difference in the words. I command you to take the garbage out, but I don't instruct you how to take the garbage out. that there's a difference between telling somebody what to do and teaching them how to do.
Well,
Yeah.
A good way of looking at it, yes.
you know, I command you to, if you don't take the garbage out, you're in big trouble, you know. So,
But if I don't tell you how to push the garbage, put the garbage in the bag, put the bag in the can, put the can out by the end of the road, I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just go figure it out for yourself and go do it. Well, when I instruct you, I'm teaching you step by step how to. I think anyway. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Well, you could get out of it too. You could say, if it's instructive, oh, I didn't understand.
Can I repeat that? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I
mean,
just say
if you
like
want to
figure it out.
if you want to carry it through, the instructor, good instructor, has to have a certain level of patience, right?
Yeah.
And God, at least in this part of the Torah, doesn't have a lot of patience with his people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good point. Okay.
So,
and the land today is flowing with milk and honey. Today,
mm-hmm. You mean not in biblical times. You're talking about today because of all the vineyards that are up there and good fertile land which has been used.
yes.
Okay.
Well,
Any
also, there are a lot of comments, at least in the Eitz Chaim here, about the differences between what irrigation will look like in the Promised Land as opposed to in Egypt, which was the frame of reference that these
right,
people knew.
Okay.
Egypt doesn't get a lot of rain, whereas the Holy Land does in season.
right. But also it says that uh, it it there in Egypt you had to do to support what the rabbi was saying. What you planted in Egypt had to be watered by your own labors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what his reference is.
But
And
it's also interesting that, rain is by God. It isn't man going in there making the rain. But and whereas with Egypt, they had to build something, right, to get the water out
sure,
of the river, right? I think.
That
but also in all
rely
the
on the flooding and then from
Oh,
of the
okay.
Nile, and then somehow maintain or build channels. You're
Ponds
right.
or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But one is limited. I mean, if they only get so much rain during a season, what are they doing for water, or do they have a different crop, or I just think there's a lot of symbolism in here as far as Egypt and having the means to have all this, build ponds and this and that to contained the water, whereas the Israelites, I, I don't know, they didn't have any containment. It was about opening up the sloughs and letting the water irrigate the fields. Anyway,
but it says here the uh, the land soaks up its water from the rains of heaven.
okay.
Okay, in verse 11.
Well, maybe it was like in a valley too.
Yeah,
I think like the valley. So the
sure.
rain. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's an interesting for me. It's interesting to look at it that way.
Okay. Any other comments? What about the phrase in verse 12? When it says, it is a land which the Lord your God looks after, on which the Lord your God always keeps his eye from year's beginning to year's end. What does that imply to you?
God never stops helping, never stops watching, never stops doing.
Yes. But what is it being implied here? It says that God is looking after the land. God is always has his eye on the land. Doesn't that sound like a farmer? Yeah. So who owns the land?
God owns it.
God.
Yeah. God is the farmer. Okay. We're just going to work the land.
Okay, yeah.
He owns the land. He's giving it to us. Not it's said again and again to possess, but I wonder if today we think in a different in maybe in a different way. We tend to think of it, oh, God's giving me permission to possess the land for myself. But maybe it's just that you're going to possess it for God. In other words, you are going to possess it for me, God speaking, and but you're still going to have to take care of it too. I'll do my share, but you're going to have to do a lot of the work to keep it going.
Well, we the Israelites are working the land and doing the best that they can, and God is overseeing this, and God will not allow uh, the land to go barren. He will do what is necessary to ensure that the labor of the Israelites are not in vain.
Okay, that's all right. I think that's another way of viewing this. Any other ideas?
Well, we don't own anything in God's world.
Yeah,
Sort of like he's the landlord.
yeah, that's a good
Um,
way of putting it.
and that's a big lesson, to kind of learn that we have to do the labor in order to uh, grow our knowledge of Torah or spiritual. But we didn't develop any of that. That was God given, the knowledge and commandments. And so, anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
we don't own anything. I think that's kind of a,
Yeah, but
in
I
the
wouldn't necessarily characterize the relationship between uh, servant, well, serf and landlord,
hmm.
between a renter and the owner of the apartment or whatever. I wouldn't necessarily characterize that as a relationship that's based on love.
Okay, it's a business. Yeah. Huh.
So maybe that's why Moses has to constantly use that phrase, love,
Mhm.
love God, because otherwise it would be too easy to fall into a pattern of either resentment if things don't go the way, if the
Right.
water's not working right, uh, the power's not working, whatever. I'll blame the landlord. Um, so we have to be reminded
Mm.
that love is the essential part of the relationship, not business.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
So, any other comments about what we had read?
Mm.
And now what, Michael, was it you that just read this portion? I
Uh,
think so.
yeah. Okay, no, don't feed.
Or was it David?
Yeah.
Okay. He's,
Marty,
yeah.
if I may, I just want to go back for 1 minute,
Sure.
back to 8 and 9,
Yes.
because the last time that we saw that conditional reward, if you will, of long life on the land that God swore to your fathers to assign them, da 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 da. The last time we saw that was the reward for honor your mother and your father.
Father.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. Here it's keep all of, the, whether it's the mitzvot, keep the instructions, the commandments, whatever, so that you will long endure.
Yeah.
I don't know why
Or to
God,
give you the strength. I had a question
God
about
took it away from the parents.
oh. Mm.
You please say that again, Rabbi? God took what away from the parents?
the the line is that the fifth commandment, the fifth of the 10, is honor your father and your
Father and
mother,
mother.
Mhm.
depending on and the order depends on which book of the Torah you're talking about. But in order that your days will be lengthened upon the land, it's the only one of the 10 commandments in that part in that text that has a reward attached to it.
Oh, okay.
But the same reward here is not because of honoring mother and father, it's because of fulfilling God's commandments.
Okay. Okay. So in that case, then God takes the role of mother and father.
Perhaps, sure.
And slave.
The ultimate mother father.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just want to add one thing, and it's God who makes the land,
It's God who what?
who made the land. Goes right to the beginning.
Mhm.
In the beginning, I'm not. I'm at beginning of Genesis. Yes.
Excuse me.
So I think it's just an interesting deal. Any other comments before we move on?
I'm sorry I interrupted you to go back to that.
It's okay. It's all right. I think it's important. Okay, Michael, if you or Donna, you haven't had a chance.
Oh,
I don't want to give anyone short shrift. So, uh, Michael, were you reading last or David? I guess David was.
Yeah.
TV.
David was.
Yes. Well, he's not with us right now. I think he did something that took him away from everything. Anyway, Donna, if you would kindly read from verse 13
Okay.
and to the end of, well, to
17.
the very end, verse, the end of 25.
Whoa. Okay.
A long one.
All right. Let's begin. If then you obey the commandments that I enjoin upon you this day, loving the Lord your God and serving him with all your heart and soul, I will grant the rain for your land in season, the early rain and the late. You shall gather in your new grain, wine, and oil. I will also provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and thus you shall eat your fill. Take care not to be lured away to serve other gods and bow to them, for the Lord's anger will flare up against you, and he will shut up the skies so that there will be no rain, and the ground will not yield its produce, and you will soon perish from the good land that the Lord is assigning to you. Therefore, impress these my words upon your heart. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Let them serve as a symbol on your forehead, and teach them to your children, reciting them when you stay at home, when you're away, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, to the end that you and your children may endure in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to assign to them, as long as there is a heaven over the earth. If then you faithfully keep all the instructions that I command you, loving the Lord your God, walking in all his ways, and holding fast to him, the Lord will dislodge before you all these nations, and you will dispossess nations greater and more numerous than you. Every spot in which your foot treads shall be yours. Your territory shall extend from the wilderness to Lebanon, and from the river and Euphrates to the western sea.
Euphrates.
Yeah, to the western sea. No man shall stand up to you. The Lord your God will put the dread and the fear of you over the whole land in which you set foot, as he promised you.
So, any comments about what Donna just read?
Uh,
Well, just in case anybody, for those who may not have seen it or recognize it, that much of that portion that Donna just read is the second paragraph after the Shema. So
After the Shema.
in our prayer book that we use, except on the High Holy Days, we only have the first paragraph and then the concluding sentences of the third. But this contains the second paragraph. The third
Right.
paragraph talks about the tzitzit and whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is the portion that starts off with the Via Hafta,
Mm-hmm.
and we sing the English version every Sabbath. But it's also, isn't it also part of the morning service?
It's every service.
Every service.
Yeah.
That's right. I know
Between
all the
every service,
holidays, and that's right.
every service between Shema and Mi Chamocha
Right.
traditionally has the three paragraphs.
Right. So it's just and again, I wish we had our old prayer book, because it showed the reference. It showed the reference for everyone. Any other comments about what
yeah,
Donna wrote? Yes,
Marty,
Michael.
I don't mean to take this too far afield, but this is important to me. And I just want to mention this, if I may. I'm looking at verse 17, and the last sentence of
Okay.
verse 17, and you will soon perish from the good land that the Lord is assigning to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the word perish. And it seems to me that the word perish used in this context is uh, is is correct, for lack of a better word. But when I hear the word perished with relationship to the Holocaust of the Hitler and the Nazis, where it was premeditated murder, is where I'm very, very adamant about that. And
Yes.
that's why I'm bringing this up, because the word perished used here and use it in the other context. There's a great divide in my estimations, that just a enormous divide. And so I mentioned that, and I didn't want to go far afield, Marty. But I couldn't help but make this comment.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Uh, any
Thank you
other
so much.
comments about these passages?
Marty?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
Rabbi.
there's a comment here, again in the Eitz Chaim, that refers to, and it's too bad Steve Marin, because we've been going back and forth on the relationship, the familial relationship between Nechama Leibovich and Yeshayahu Leibovich. But this one gives an interpretation from Yeshayahu Leibovich between the two paragraphs that we can keep in mind. One of the V'ahavta, the first paragraph that talks about loving God,
Mm-hmm.
okay, as a very high theological construct or
Right.
goal, if you will. Then this second paragraph is, according to Leibovich, is it's addressed more to those who can't, for one reason or another, can't affirm that initial theological concept, and they think in terms of reward and punishment. Okay, so that's why it's the same expectation or mitzvah of believing in God, loving God, revering God, following God. But if you can't just accept it from the framework of love, then here's an explanation of, if you do this, I will do this for you, and if you don't, you're going to be punished. It's not going to work. So, which is a simpler theological construct, but for many, 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 many people throughout history, including in our present day, reward and punishment is a basis of their faith.
Sure. And it's interesting. Oh, it is a reward always for a personal reason?
No, it can be communal. It can be
Exactly.
collective.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right. And so addressing it here, it's not just for the individual, it's also for the community.
As a matter of fact, the commandment in this paragraph, the first paragraph, I should have mentioned it. The first paragraph, it's in the singular. The second paragraph, it's in the plural.
Right. So it becomes more, it has more than just what resonates with you. It's what should be resonating with the community, because the way Torah is designed, and what God wants probably is a two-way street between what I'm about to say. We've said this before. It's a three-way street. It's not just between the individual and God, or God and the community. It is also a tie between the individual and the community's responsibility to the individual. Right. We've discussed this before. I'm not taking full credit for it, because there are other Jewish philosophers that have discussed this before. Yes, Donna. Donna, you're muted.
Dog was barking.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so paragraph 16.
Okay,
Take care,
verse
take
16, yes.
Yeah, take care not to be lured away to serve other gods and bow to them. That is where you'll be punished. And that is
Yeah,
a repeated theme, the golden
That's
calf.
the ultimate.
That's it. Yeah. Any
that's
other
right.
god. Yeah. So the parish part, um,
There's more
I don't,
to,
yeah,
yeah,
I was
it's what it implies.
right.
Yeah, okay, when Michael, and he's correct, there are differences between when you use the word kill and murder and perish, but
The
perish,
circumstances are different.
that's right.
Those in,
That's right.
yeah, they didn't have a choice. It wasn't them committing sin or anything that they were hauled off to. Those were
Right.
hauled
That's
off
what
to the
Michael is
kingdoms.
getting after.
And here, it's a choice. We've been repeatedly told over and over and over again not to put any gods before us.
But if you perish from the land,
Well, maybe the parish isn't what I'm thinking it is either. Maybe they just starve to death or they get involved in other tribes or,
you
um,
can, but what happens to the story?
oh,
What happens to the individual? Well, let's start with the individual. Okay? And he's going to be forgotten.
oh,
Okay? What happens to a community?
they disperse.
They it's no longer a community. It's forgotten. The community is forgotten.
The Hebrew actually, I mean, parish is an interpretive word. We know
Yes.
we accept that. The Hebrew is actually that it will be lost.
Lost
Yeah, it will
forever.
soon be lost forever.
That's right.
Right.
And so it's like erasing you from history, erasing the community from history, erasing the country from history. Okay, but you can go in today with the weapons that we could erase the world. And there's more to this. So each one of these words, uh, I'm going to suggest for homework for everyone, just look in Roget's thesaurus. Okay, you would find different levels of meaning for words we take for granted. They're similar, we can use them, but we're not exactly saying the same thing. This is what Michael gets after all the time. But here, the word perish, it means basically uh, that you will soon perish, you'll be forgotten, and the community will be forgotten. And the Israelite, the whole is Israelite, it's not just the clan or anything, but the nation will be obliterated from history and memory. If you think about that a little bit, how much of the history of France do you know? How much of unless you go and read up on it again, you wouldn't be able to do that. And you wouldn't teach that to your children. You would be able to say nothing about France to your children, and your grandchildren would never get to know about France at all. So even forgetting, this is a theme in Torah, to remember, constantly remind yourself of all of these things. I'm trying to use different words intentionally to show each word has its own connotations. And so it becomes very important. And so, if you don't read and reread Torah, you're going to forget it. And the same thing about, so why have a holiday then? Why have a Passover service? Why not just have a party? You know? But then you forget, the same thing about rituals. You say, why should we do this? Have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Why? So that you start remembering. It's a reminder. Rituals are reminders of your past, of your heritage. For those of us who are newcomers, you have to start somewhere. For those of us who are old timers, we have stories we can link up with regard to, oh yeah, I remember going to services with my grandparents or my father and mother or whatever, depending on what division. And so you want to
Ritual,
remember.
ritual provides organization. It's organized.
Yes. And it's a reminder to the individual. It's also a reminder to the community as to why you are there.
Well, that's the organization of it, see?
Right. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's important. We go through rituals for birthdays. We go through rituals for death. We go through rituals for so many anniversaries. You know, things like that. There's so many ways we remember with a ritual.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not saying we should always have rituals around us, but because some rituals are more important than others. Okay, Sabbath, the high holidays, okay, things like that. Anyway, enough said. I'll slap myself. Get back on track here.
No need.
Anyway, um, if you look at verses 18 and 19 and 20, okay, these are all rituals, all ways of different ways of looking at rituals. Why why is it important to to fill in and bind your arm as to remind it's to remind us as to what's going on. Why do you have a mezuzah? Okay, so it is. These are all, and what's inside of a mezuzah?
Torah.
What we just read.
That's
The-
right. What's inside? That's right. What's inside a phylactery?
I don't know.
The
The whole
same.
box.
Same.
Oh,
Same thing. Same thing.
okay.
Okay. So you keep the words as a sign, upon your head. That's right. So that it's a reminder to think about it. So it brings together the different aspects of the religion, the way it's evolved over time, and the different ways of conducting the rituals and like that is another way of it's another you can go for hours and hours of discussion on that. So anyway,
I have a question.
yes.
At the end of 21, I find this to be, I don't know. very, very beautiful in that you and your children may endure in the land that the Lord
Mhm.
swore to your fathers to assign them as long as there is a heaven over the earth. Heaven, as long as there is heaven over the earth.
Yes.
Now, so that brings up a question. What is heaven significant? What is it? What is the heaven here? The presence of, it's the cover, it's the above, right?
It
Over the, huh?
it represents the kingdom of God,
Oh, okay.
I think,
Yeah.
the
We
heaven.
also you tend
Not
to use it as
yeah,
you look up at the
it's
sky, you look up the at the stars, and the ancients put the sky of the earth, and then the stars were another layer, and then heaven was beyond that.
Well, maybe it just means that forever.
That's right.
It's as long as there's heaven over the earth. Well, the heaven
Yeah,
will always be there.
that's right.
Heaven will always be there.
Yes.
It's always visible.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you might think that God, God by definition is not visible, but God is present. So that's the
Hmm.
that's the recognition. But also for whatever reason, and you can be very symbolic, metaphoric about it. God chose to create the heavens first before the earth.
Right.
So the heavens obviously would be much more important as a way of positing God's presence.
Hmm.
So another thing on your own that you can look up, I was referring to different models of the relationship of the Earth and the universe. And if you look that up and go back through time, you will see various diagrams depicting concentric circles with the Earth at the center and moving out. Okay, with the planets, if the moon going around the Earth, and you have the planets, and then you had the firmament, and then you had the heavens. That's what I was referring to.
Mhm.
Science has taken us away from that concept, but that's the way they saw things.
And the Bible does too. At
Yes,
least the first story of creation does.
yes. So
It's
go ahead, Donna.
yeah. I just it's assuring too, that this is permanent, whatever that may mean. That's as long as it's forever. The sky and heavenly bodies symbolize permanency, which is comforting. Another way to kind of go, oh, okay, yes. Um,
Well, in my mind, I'm also thinking of the covenant.
hmm.
Okay. Because this is another way of restating the covenant between God and man, and also God and
Discussion, your
you're right, Donna?
discussion here
Okay.
is bringing me to a concept of heaven that has always fascinated me. And those of us interested in comparative religion is when we study what heaven contains, which is really everything in a way, most of it being, from a scientist's point of view, empty space, but also has all of the planets. And then historically, in the Catholic Church, the prime of Galileo was several hundred years ago, and yet just in our lifetime, Pope John Paul II decided it was time to rehabilitate Galileo, to forgive him, and to forgive the church for making a mistake. because one of the brave things that he did was he said that we were wrong in condemning Galileo back then. But all these hundreds of years later, the fact that he actually stood up and said that, I think, is something that I thought was very, very crucial and very important. And I think it spoke not just to the Catholic faith, but to ours as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other?
Marty, can I add a
Yes.
comment?
Yes, Suzanne, please.
Um, in the book of Revelation, the Antichrist will require people to take the mark, his mark, either on their right hand or on their forehead. And I think that speaks to what we just read in Deuteronomy, because if the Antichrist thinks it's important to mock God, where in Deuteronomy, how did it say to to bind his words upon your hand and between your eyes?
Right.
Mhm.
With the mark, with the Antichrist mark going between that,
Sure.
I think that underscores the importance of God's words that were written here in Deuteronomy, because the Antichrist is going to do whatever he can to either imitate or mock or discredit God in any way that he sees fit. So I just think that underscores the importance of verse 18.
Right.
And that's another way of looking at this. And I thank you, Suzanne, for that. One of the Christian commentaries on this too. Yes. Marianne, yes.
Yeah, I understand what Suzanne is saying, but I also think that the Antichrist is not this dictator or that president. It is a collective that, as we are more and more influenced by marketing, by television, by AI, we are slowly, step by step, being taken away from these principles rather than being directed to. That, as far as I'm concerned, part of the Antichrist is, especially this time of the year, TV and marketing. This will make you a better, no, it will not make you a better person. It will make you more broke, but not better. That we have to, especially if you're using plastic, that it's more important than ever to focus on having a relationship with God, not with this company or that toy or this pair of jeans. That all of those things are false idols. And if we buy all that junk, then we'll be good people. No, we will not be. In fact, we will, I think, in my opinion, we will be worse because we have put so much emphasis on materialism and other people's opinion rather than our relationship with God. But that's how I see it.
Okay. That's this. Donna, we can't hear you. That word, that
I
expression,
forgot
no,
it was
you didn't want us to hear.
but material objects are also idolizing. That's
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right.
so
You
there we
got
are.
it.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like the jeans, I have this, I have that. I'm somebody of status, and yeah. So that's another form of idolizing.
Yeah.
How I see
It
it.
is.
The house, the car, the everything.
You got it.
And that doesn't bring me closer to God. I like to have these things, but I need it's not a it's a reminder that no, you don't need to be idolizing them or
That's right.
whatever. So
Well, before we close for today, I just want uh, to talk about some of the words here. We spoke about this many years ago. Okay, and does this remind you of anything? The verses specifically, um, verses 23 through 25. Does it remind you of anything that we've spoken about years ago when we
Marty,
started this venture?
you're gonna have to excuse me. I have to make a couple phone
I
calls. I said
understand.
I would do it right at 11:30. So
Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Happy
Shabbat
Shabbat
Thanksgiving.
shalom.
shalom. Get well.
Rabbi.
Okay.
See you next week, Rabbi. Shabbat
So
shalom.
I just wanted to comment about this rather than dragging it out. Uh, what I'll say, these are the words spoken by God to Abraham. Yeah, you have to go back to Genesis again. Okay, and and this is what he says to Abraham. We want you to walk around. God wants him to walk around and see the land that he's going to be given. And this is what God says to Abraham. So it's a reminder, okay? It's not just the book of Exodus, but we have to remember the book of Genesis. In order to see, then God is fulfilling. He's telling you that if you keep this up, if you follow the way you're supposed to, the way follow what I'm telling you and asking you to do for me, and to keep your faith, you're going to do just fine, and you're going to help fulfill the promise.
Very good. I've got to go too, Marty.
Okay.
It was a good session. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
My daughter,
And by the way, on David's behalf, I just want to say this is an extremely poetic way of verbalizing our past 2 hours, past hour and a half. Just reread this, and you'll understand. These words came from someone's heart, God's heart. Okay. And it's poetic in the way it's written. And poetry usually is loving, out of love. Okay, so I just want to say that it tells you something about from whence from whence it comes. That's all. Anyway, any other comments?
Yes, Marty, wish Susan the very best for me and many
Thank you.
blessings and complete success for her.
Thank you very much. And we'll find out. I'll keep you informed as to what the game plan is going to be and like that. But as I look, there are certain things that we have to take in stride. Sometimes they're hard. Every person knows that they've gone through hard times as well as good times. And it's how we adapt to those. And with God's help, I'll be able to adapt.
Right, right.
And same with Sue. It's going to be important to us.
All the best from
Thank
me
you
and Betty.
for your words, Michael. I appreciate it. And David, I know you mentioned that earlier too. And My wife is going through tests to see which approach is going to be best for heart surgery.
Hmm.
So that's what we were talking about.
Hey,
But
Marty,
thank you.
if you guys need anything or you need dinner or something, or somebody picks something up from the stores, I'd be more than happy to do it for
Well,
you.
thank you so much. But right now, we seem to be okay.
Okay, just keep
And
it in mind.
but I appreciate the offer, and I will let people know if we need anything. Yes,
Okay.
Yes, yes,
thank you.
Marty.
All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom,
Shalom,
Shabbat
Shabbat.
and may
shalom.
this be a good week for everyone.
Then you too,
You do too.
you and Susan. Thank you, Marty.
Yes.